Cops are tasked with keeping us safe from some of the most dangerous criminals you can ever think of. But sometimes, even the rules and regulations of prison aren't enough to protect them from the wrath of these criminals. Things can go from 0 to 100 in seconds, and cops can get killed in prison. So here are some female cops who got tortured in prison. Megan Lee Callahan. First, we will uncover the chilling details surrounding the death of Sergeant Megan Lee Callahan, a dedicated correctional officer who tragically lost her life after being assaulted by an inmate. Sergeant Megan Lee Callahan was a dedicated correctional officer whose life was tragically cut short. Megan, born and raised in Edenton, North Carolina, had always possessed a strong sense of duty and a desire to make a difference in her community. Her journey in the field of corrections began in January 2012 when she joined the North Carolina Department of Public Safety. From the very beginning, Megan's passion for her work was evident. She approached her role with unwavering dedication and a commitment to maintaining order and safety within the prison walls. Her hard work and exceptional performance did not go unnoticed, and in February 2016, Megan was promoted to the rank of sergeant, a testament to her skills and leadership abilities. Colleagues and inmates alike were drawn to Megan's infectious smile and positive attitude. She had a natural ability to connect with people, which made her an effective communicator and mediator in the often tense and challenging prison environment. Megan's compassionate nature and genuine concern for the well-being of others earned her the respect and admiration of those she worked with. Outside of her professional life, Megan was known for her warm and caring personality. She was deeply devoted to her family and friends, always making time to support and uplift them. Despite the demanding nature of her job, Megan managed to maintain a healthy work-life balance, finding joy in simple pleasures and cherishing the moments spent with loved ones. However, Megan's dedication to her job often meant long hours and sacrifices. She lived alone and poured her energy into her work, ensuring the safety and security of both staff and inmates. Her commitment to her role was unwavering, and she was always willing to go the extra mile to ensure the smooth operation of the correctional facility. Tragically, Megan's life was cut short on that fateful day when an inmate assaulted her. The primary suspect in this heinous crime is Craig Wissink, an inmate serving a life sentence for a first-degree murder conviction in Cumberland County. Wissink, who has been behind bars since April 2004, has a troubling history of prison infractions, including fighting and possession of banned electronic devices. His violent tendencies and disregard for rules and regulations have raised concerns among prison officials. Wissink's criminal journey began in 2000 when he was involved in a home invasion robbery that turned fatal. During the robbery, a man lost his life due to a shotgun blast to the chest. This heinous act of violence led to Wissink's conviction for first-degree murder in Cumberland County. The severity of the crime warranted a life sentence without the possibility of parole. While behind bars, Wissink's behavior has been far from exemplary. He has accumulated a string of prison infractions, including fighting, interfering with staff, and possession of banned electronic devices. These infractions paint a picture of a volatile and defiant individual, unafraid to challenge authority and engage in violent confrontations. Despite his troubled past, Wissink has also displayed a talent for art. In 2008, he participated in an inmate art contest hosted by Vance Granville Community College and emerged as the winner with his drawing titled "A Kiss for Mama Alone." This juxtaposition of artistic talent and violent tendencies adds a layer of complexity to understanding the suspect's psyche. The investigation into Wissink's background has revealed a troubled individual with a propensity for violence. While the exact motive behind the assault on Sergeant Megan Lee Callahan is still under investigation, it is clear that Wissink's history of aggression and disregard for rules and regulations raises concerns about his potential for further violence. The shocking nature of Wissink's crimes and his alleged involvement in the death of a dedicated correctional officer has sent shockwaves through the prison community and beyond. The incident has reignited discussions about the effectiveness of rehabilitation programs within the correctional system and the need for enhanced security measures to protect both staff and inmates. Donna Payant. Next, we'll jump into the death of guard Donna Payant. Donna Payant, born Donna Collins on March 22, 1950, was a dedicated and fearless New York State Corrections officer. With a strong sense of duty, she joined the ranks of the 50 women serving as correction officers at Greenhaven Correctional Facility. Having attended the Corrections Officers Academy in 1981, Donna had only been working at Greenhaven for about a month when tragedy struck. As a mother of 3 children, she understood the risks involved in her profession, as her husband also served as a corrections officer at a different facility. In fact, her father had dedicated over 28 years of his life to being a corrections officer at the Clinton prison. Donna's assignment at Greenhaven was to guard a cell block that housed convicted murderer Lemuel Smith. Her responsibilities also included escorting inmates to the dining hall and ensuring their safe return to their cells. She took her role seriously, knowing the importance of maintaining order and security within the prison walls. Little did Donna know that her dedication and commitment to her job would ultimately lead to her tragic end. Lemuel Smith, a convicted murderer and rapist, was already serving 2 life sentences when he crossed paths with Donna. Working in the chaplain's office, Smith devised a sinister plan to lure Donna to her death. Posing as another corrections employee, he deceived her and convinced her to come to the office. Trusting in the professionalism and camaraderie among her colleagues, Donna fell victim to Smith's ruse. Unbeknownst to her, she walked into a trap that would seal her fate. It was within the confines of the chaplain's office that Smith unleashed his violent and deadly intentions. Using his strength and cunning, Smith attacked Donna, strangling her to death. The brutality of the act sent shockwaves through the prison, leaving everyone in disbelief that such a heinous crime could occur within their walls. After taking Donna's life, Smith went to great lengths to conceal his crime. He wrapped her lifeless body in plastic and disposed of it in a 55-gallon drum, which he then discarded in a dumpster. His actions were calculated and aimed at erasing any evidence of his monstrous act. The prison was thrown into chaos when Donna was discovered to be missing. A thorough search was conducted, but no trace of her could be found within the prison grounds. However, search dogs picked up her scent, leading investigators to the dumping area. As news of Donna Payant's disappearance spread throughout the Greenhaven Correctional Facility, panic and chaos descended upon the prison. The facility was immediately placed on lockdown, and an intensive search was launched to find the missing correction officer. The walls echoed with the desperate cries of her colleagues, who were determined to bring her home safely. Law enforcement agencies were called in to assist with the investigation. The search for Donna extended beyond the prison walls as authorities scoured the surrounding areas for any sign of her whereabouts. Every lead was followed, every piece of evidence meticulously examined as they raced against time to find her. Days turned into nights, and the tension within the prison grew. Inmates were on edge, aware that something was amiss. The atmosphere was thick with fear and uncertainty as everyone grappled with the possibility that a killer was among them. Search dogs were brought in to aid in the investigation, their keen sense of smell a valuable asset in the search for Donna. These highly trained canines were able to pick up her scent, leading investigators to the dumping area where her body had been discarded. It was a grim discovery, a chilling confirmation of the worst fears. The next morning, as the sun began to rise, the landfill was meticulously combed through. Every inch was searched, every piece of debris examined, as law enforcement officers worked tirelessly to bring Donna home. And then, finally, the breakthrough they had been hoping for. Donna's lifeless body was found, her once vibrant spirit forever extinguished. The sight was heart-wrenching, a stark reminder of the evil that can lurk within the prison system. Donna had been brutally murdered, her life cut short by a man who showed no remorse for his actions. The autopsy revealed that she had died by strangulation, a cruel and violent end to a dedicated public servant. As the investigation unfolded, the focus turned to the perpetrator, Lemuel Smith. Smith, already serving 2 life sentences for previous murders, was a man with a dark and twisted mind. He had lured Donna to the prison chaplain's office, posing as another corrections employee, and had carried out the heinous act of taking her life. But Smith's depravity didn't end with the murder of Donna Payant. In a shocking revelation, he confessed to 2 other killings, crimes that had gone unsolved until now. However, prosecutors chose not to pursue charges against him for these additional murders, as he was already serving multiple life sentences. Katrina Owens. Next, we'll uncover the harrowing details surrounding the death of Katrina Owens, a married corrections officer whose life was tragically cut short and who found herself entangled in a web of forbidden love and tragedy. Katrina Owens, a 37-year-old woman, resided in Monmouth Junction with her husband Marquis, who served as a sergeant in the state corrections department. Together, they built a life and raised 3 children, seemingly living a picture-perfect existence. Katrina was known for her unwavering commitment to her job and her dedication to maintaining law and order within the prison system. However, behind closed doors, Katrina's life took an unexpected turn. It was during her time working at the New Jersey Training School in Jamesburg that she crossed paths with Alan Barron, a troubled young man who would ultimately become her downfall. Barron, at the age of 21, was an inmate at the facility when Katrina served as a guard. Little did they know that their paths would intertwine in a way that would lead to a tragic end. The alleged relationship between Katrina and Barron began innocently enough, with casual conversations conversations and fleeting glances exchanged within the confines of the correctional facility. Over time, these interactions evolved into something more, as a forbidden connection formed between them. The boundaries that should have separated them were blurred, and they found solace in each other's company. As their relationship deepened, the risks became greater. The thrill of secrecy and the allure of forbidden love consumed them, leading them down a treacherous path. Katrina, a respected corrections officer, found herself entangled in a dangerous affair that would ultimately cost her life. On that fateful night, Katrina attended a holiday barbecue, unaware of the tragedy that awaited her. It was there that she encountered Barron once again, and what started as a seemingly innocent gathering quickly turned into a nightmare. An argument erupted between them, fueled by the intensity of their hidden relationship and the emotions that had been building over time. In a moment of rage and desperation, Barron reached for a weapon and fatally shot Katrina, leaving her lifeless body behind. The shocking murder of Katrina Owens was not an isolated incident. In fact, it was part of a 40-minute spate of gunfire that claimed the lives of 2 others, plunging the community into a state of fear and disbelief. The chaos and devastation caused by Barron's actions sent shockwaves through the city of Newark, leaving a trail of grief and unanswered questions in its wake. Following the murder, Barron fled the scene, leaving behind a community grappling with the aftermath of his violent actions. He embarked on a journey to Virginia, where federal marshals closed in on him. Faced with the prospect of capture, Barron made the chilling decision to take his own life, leaving behind a community searching for answers and a family shattered by loss. As the community of Newark grappled with the shocking murder of Katrina Owens, law enforcement agencies swiftly launched an intensive investigation into her death. The pursuit of justice and the search for answers became paramount as authorities sought to unravel the events that led to this tragic loss of life. Acting Newark Police Director Samuel DeMaio, determined to bring the perpetrator to justice, assembled a team of seasoned detectives to lead the investigation. Their first task was to gather evidence and interview witnesses who were present at the holiday barbecue where the fatal shooting occurred. Through meticulous questioning and forensic analysis, they aimed to piece together the sequence of events that unfolded on that fateful night. Members of the Richmond area's U.S. Marshals Service Fugitive Task Force played a crucial role in tracking down Barron. Their tireless efforts led them to the Greyhound Lines Inc. bus station in Richmond, where they believed he was hiding. It was there that they finally located him, but what transpired next was nothing short of shocking. As a plainclothed deputy marshal approached Barron to confirm his identity, the suspect drew a gun and pointed it at the marshal. In a split second, Barron made the chilling decision to take his own life. He fired a single shot, ending his own life before justice could be served. The scene at the bus station was one of chaos and disbelief as law enforcement officers grappled with the tragic turn of events. Hours after Barron's death, Richmond police made a chilling discovery. They found Katrina Owens' Nissan Armada in a parking lot at North 18th and East Marshall Streets in Richmond. The presence of the vehicle raised questions about Barron's intentions and how he had arrived at the bus stop. The investigation into his movements and motives continued as authorities sought to uncover the full extent of his plan. The pursuit of justice in the wake of Katrina Owens' death was marked by determination and a commitment to bringing closure to the grieving community. While the tragic end of Alan Barron denied the opportunity for a trial, it provided some semblance of closure for those affected by his violent actions. Jamie Bendle. Next, in a chilling tale that has sent shockwaves through the corrections community, we delve into the haunting story surrounding the death of Jamie Bendle, a dedicated female correctional officer. Her life was tragically cut short when she was strangled to death while working alone in the chapel at the Monroe Prison. This incident, which has left the Washington Secretary of Corrections describing it as his worst nightmare, has raised questions about the safety measures in place and the vulnerability of the prison. Bendle, a 34-year-old female correctional officer, met her tragic end while working alone in the chapel at the Monroe Prison. This was a job she had specifically requested, drawn to the solace and tranquility it offered. However, her choice to work in this isolated setting would prove to be a fatal decision. Union officials have revealed that Bendle had expressed concerns about the lack of surveillance cameras in the chapel. She had voiced her unease, highlighting the fact that there would be no way for anyone to monitor her or come to her aid if she found herself in trouble. It was a chilling realization that she was essentially left vulnerable and without any means of alerting others if she encountered a dangerous situation. On that fateful Saturday night, investigators believed that an inmate named Byron E. Scherf was responsible for Bendle's murder. Scherf, already serving a life sentence without parole for rape, was found first. However, it took an additional hour for anyone to realize that Bendle was unaccounted for. This delay in discovering her absence only adds to the sense of tragedy and missed opportunities to potentially save her life. But the actions of Scherf were surprising. Corrections Secretary Eldon Vale has shed light on Scherf's background. background, revealing that for the past 10 years, he had maintained a clean record with no infractions. Scherf had been working in the print shop as part of the Correctional Industries program, seemingly flying under the radar and not raising any immediate concerns. This revelation has left many questioning how someone with no prior issues could commit such a heinous act. However, keep in mind that this man was a violent sex offender. Investigators have determined that there is no evidence to suggest that Bendle was sexually assaulted. This detail, while providing some small measure of relief, does little to ease the shock and horror surrounding her murder. Bendle had been recognized as Officer of the Year in 2008 at the Monroe facility, a testament to her dedication and exemplary service. Her commitment to her role and the safety of others makes her tragic end all the more devastating. The murder of Jamie Bendle marks a chilling milestone as she becomes the first corrections officer at Monroe Correctional Complex to be murdered in the line of duty in over 30 years. The impact of this loss reverberated throughout the corrections community, leaving a profound sense of grief and a renewed urgency to address the safety concerns faced by those who work tirelessly to maintain order within the prison system. It is worth noting that the murder occurred at a time when the Teamsters Union had a lawsuit pending against the state over safety issues in prisons resulting from budget cuts. The timing of this tragedy has only intensified the ongoing debate surrounding the adequate protection and security measures for those who serve on the front lines of our correctional facilities. However, Corrections Secretary Eldon Vail has emphasized that it is standard procedure to have only one officer assigned to the chapel, raising questions about the balance between safety and resource allocation. Now let's turn our spotlight on the man responsible for this heinous act, Byron E. Scherf. As investigators delve into his background, a disturbing portrait emerges, shedding light on the dark descent that led him to commit such a brutal crime. Byron E. Scherf, an inmate at the Monroe prison, was already serving a life sentence without parole for rape when he crossed paths with Jamie Bendle. For the past 10 years, Scherf had managed to maintain a clean record devoid of any infractions. He had been working in the print shop as part of the Correctional Industries program, seemingly blending into the background and evading suspicion. But beneath this facade of compliance and normalcy, a sinister side lurked within Scherf. The details surrounding his past crimes paint a chilling picture of a man capable of unspeakable acts. The rape conviction that landed him behind bars showed his capacity for violence and disregard for the well-being of others. According to official court records, Scherf's criminal history began in 1978 when he was found guilty of second-degree assault. As a result, he was sentenced to a 10-year prison term, but he was released on parole after serving only 2 years. While still on parole, Scherf committed a heinous act by kidnapping a young waitress and taking her to an abandoned house. There, he restrained and sexually assaulted her before dousing her with gasoline and setting her on fire. Miraculously, the brave waitress managed to escape through a window despite still being bound. For this horrendous crime, Scherf was once again found guilty, this time for rape, and was sentenced to life imprisonment. However, shockingly, he was granted parole yet again on December 30th, 1993. During his second parole, Scherf pretended to be a potential homebuyer and enticed a female real estate agent to a remote property. Once there, he kidnapped and sexually assaulted her. Consequently, he received another conviction, and his sentence of life imprisonment was upheld. He is currently serving his sentence at Monroe Correctional Complex. The victim of the second attack later filed a lawsuit against the state, arguing that Scherf should never have been released on parole and that the supervision he received was grossly inadequate. Unfortunately, despite her efforts, she lost the case after it reached the state Supreme Court. With this, it becomes apparent that his crimes were not isolated incidents, but rather part of a disturbing pattern of violence and aggression. The question arises, how did someone with such a dark history manage to remain off the radar for so long? The answer lies in Scherf's ability to manipulate and conceal his true nature. He had mastered the art of blending in, presenting himself as a model inmate, and avoiding any actions that would raise suspicion. This calculated approach allowed him to navigate the prison system undetected, biding his time until the opportunity presented itself to commit another heinous act. Marianne Johnson. The death of Marianne Johnson, a dedicated female corrections officer at the Robertson Unit in Abilene, Texas, was a sad day. Born and raised in Texas, Marianne Johnson grew up with a strong sense of justice and a desire to make a difference in her community. From a young age, she displayed a deep empathy for those who found themselves on the wrong side of the law. This compassion, combined with her unwavering determination, led her to pursue a career in the criminal justice system. In 2009, Johnson joined the Texas Department of Criminal Justice as a corrections officer. Her 7-year tenure with the department was marked by her unwavering dedication and commitment to her job. She understood the challenges and risks associated with working in a prison environment, but she never wavered in her resolve to keep the public safe from dangerous individuals. Correctional officers like Johnson have one of the most difficult jobs in all of state government. They are tasked with maintaining order and security within the prison walls, often facing volatile situations and unpredictable behavior from inmates. Johnson embraced this responsibility wholeheartedly, recognizing the importance of her role in protecting society from those who pose a threat. But tragedy struck when Johnson was found unresponsive near a kitchen in prison. She was later pronounced dead at Hendrick Medical Center. Authorities investigated her death as a homicide, with an inmate identified as the prime suspect. The Texas Department of Criminal Justice, along with local law enforcement agencies, formed a dedicated team to handle the investigation. Their priority was to thoroughly process the crime scene at the Robertson unit. Every inch of the area where Johnson was found unresponsive near the kitchen was meticulously examined for any evidence that could shed light on the circumstances surrounding her death. As the investigation progressed, the focus shifted towards identifying the suspect responsible for this heinous act. Authorities have already identified an inmate, Dillian Gage Compton, as the prime suspect. Compton, who worked in the kitchen area of the Robertson unit, allegedly attacked Johnson when she entered a storage area. The motive behind the attack is still under investigation. Compton, a 21-year-old inmate, is currently serving a 25-year prison sentence for aggravated sexual assault of a child under the age of 14. His criminal history raises questions about the effectiveness of the prison system in identifying and managing potentially dangerous individuals. The investigation will delve into Compton's background, looking for any additional information that could provide insight into his motive and potential involvement in other criminal activities. Dale Wainwright, chairman of the Texas Board of Criminal Justice, expressed the difficulty in putting into words the loss felt by the department when a correctional officer dies in the line of duty. He called for prayers for Johnson's family and friends, recognizing the profound impact her death has had on those who knew and loved her. Governor Greg Abbott also expressed his condolences, acknowledging Johnson's dedication to protecting others. He emphasized that her service would not be forgotten and promised swift justice for the perpetrator. Abbott has instructed the Texas Department of Criminal Justice to take all necessary measures to enhance the safety of their staff and prevent similar tragedies from occurring in the future. The goal is to create a safer working environment for correctional officers who put their lives on the line every day to protect the public. Lance Lowry, the president of the state's Correctional Employees Union, expressed the deep sorrow and grief felt. He emphasized the importance of staffing levels and safety measures in ensuring the well-being of officers. The Texas Department of Criminal Justice has struggled to maintain adequate staffing levels, which has played a role in the increased risks faced by correctional officers. The state legislature's request for budget cuts across state agencies has further exacerbated the challenges faced by the department. Lowry highlighted the stark contrast between New York State, with its 60,000 inmate population and 20,000 correctional officers, and Texas, with its 148,000 inmates and fewer than 25,000 officers. The union president stressed that further budget cuts would only compromise the safety of correctional officers and hinder their ability to carry out their duties effectively. The death of Marianne Johnson raises important questions about the working conditions and safety protocols within the Texas prison system. Darla K. Lathram. Darla K. Lathram, a 38-year-old corrections officer, lost her life during a botched prison escape. On that fateful day, Lathram, a dedicated 38-year-old corrections officer, was carrying out her duties at the Charlotte County Correctional Institution when tragedy struck. It was during a routine work assignment that Lathram found herself supervising a 5-man work crew alone. Little did she know that this seemingly ordinary day would turn into a nightmare. Inmates who had gained access to hammers and other tools launched a brutal and vicious attack on her. Lathram was outnumbered and caught off guard and fought valiantly to protect herself. However, the inmate's violent assault proved to be too much for her to overcome. Lathram's body was discovered in a locked closet inside a prison building, a grim and haunting scene that further showed the brutality of the attack. The discovery came after a fence alarm sounded, alerting officers to the presence of a disturbance. The swift response of her fellow officers was, unfortunately, not enough to save her life. As the investigation into Lathram's death unfolded, it became clear that her murder was not an isolated isolated incident. Charlie Fuston, an inmate who was also killed during the botched escape attempt, was hailed as a hero by Latham's family. They believe that Fuston died while trying to protect her. The investigation into the tragic death of Darla K. Latham was a meticulous and thorough process, as authorities sought to uncover the truth behind the brutal attack that claimed her life. The Florida Department of Law Enforcement, FDLE, took charge of the investigation, leaving no stone unturned in their pursuit of justice. As the investigation progressed, it became clear that there were systemic issues within the prison system that needed to be addressed. The incident exposed vulnerabilities in security protocols and raised concerns about the safety of correctional officers. The Department of Corrections Inspector General's office also launched its investigation into the circumstances surrounding Latham's death. Their focus was on identifying any lapses in protocol or negligence that may have contributed to the attack. The findings of this investigation would be crucial in holding accountable those responsible for ensuring the safety of correctional officers. The community rallied around Latham's family and the correctional community during this difficult time. State Representative Lindsey M. Harrington led a moment of silence on the House floor, highlighting the need for justice and a thorough examination of the circumstances surrounding Latham's murder. The House agreed to withhold any action until the investigations were concluded, emphasizing the seriousness of the situation. State Attorney Steve Russell echoed the sentiment, stating that justice would be sought in this tragic case. The aftermath of Darla K. Latham's tragic death left a lasting impact on her family, fellow officers, and the community at large. The loss of a dedicated and courageous corrections officer like Latham was deeply felt by all who knew her. Latham's family, friends, and colleagues gathered to mourn her passing and pay tribute to her life. Her body was laid to rest at Fort Myers Memorial Gardens, where a sad and emotional funeral service took place. Prison officers from across the state filled in for Charlotte prison guards, allowing them to attend the funeral and show their support for Latham's family. The funeral procession was a solemn and poignant moment, as hundreds of State Department of Corrections and Southwest Florida law enforcement officers lined up in church aisles to pass by Latham's flag-draped white casket. Tears were shed, and heartfelt embraces were shared as the magnitude of the loss was felt by all. Sergeant Roderick Spears, who had once supervised Latham at the Charlotte Correctional Institution, placed his hands on her casket and whispered his final goodbye to the shy woman he had known. Spears had supervised Latham on his recreation squad for 8 months before she was switched to a construction detail about a month prior to her death. The bond between them was evident, and Spears expressed his grief and the sense of loss he felt since Latham's tragic passing. The impact of Latham's death extended beyond the immediate community of family and colleagues. State Representative Lindsey M. Harrington led a moment of silence on the House floor, acknowledging the gravity of the situation and the need for justice. The House agreed to withhold any action until the investigations by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement and the Department of Corrections Inspector General's office were concluded. James Crosby, the Secretary of the Department of Corrections, presented Latham's parents with the flag that had draped their daughter's casket, a symbol of her service and sacrifice. The gesture served as a reminder of the bravery and dedication exemplified by Latham and the importance of recognizing the role of correctional officers in safeguarding society. Thanks for watching. Click on the video on the screen for similar content.